It's human to respond emotionally. It is. And I feel like with a lot of like mental health content and all the things that you see online, it's very go about with logic, that you need to do things in a very logical way. And I always say this, experiences will shape you more than knowledge. Like, for example, we have people writing all these books about certain people's experiences, but you will never know about the experiences that people go through, the experiences that they go through in their life, and the nuances and intricacies of it till you actually interact with them. For example, having a black friend or being a black person, you may understand blackness more than the books that write about it, right? The same thing, maybe someone who's autistic. All the books and all the knowledge, you even have people seeking treatment and they have these professionals talking to them about their own experience and telling them what that is. That's the same as your perspective and your human experience in this world. You cannot have people telling you what your own experience is. And and it's why I've always kind of resented the fact that older people just have this wisdom and all these things that younger people don't have. And I think older people have wisdom. That's just the best way I can put it. But that wisdom, being wise, that thing that sharpens your intuition comes from your experiences. So I'm sure most of your life probably been told you're too emotional, you're too sensitive, you need to think logically, and how do you expect in this world to be taken seriously if you sit in your emotions? And the truth is, I'm not saying completely allow yourself, your emotions to take over. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that your emotions have a place. Your emotions have a place in how you navigate your life, how you get through your healing, and how you overall get through the processes that are holding you back, how you break the negative cycles. What if I told you that emotions and self is a form of intelligence? That's why you have certain groups of people, for example, women, those who are feminine, they have more emotional intelligence than those who think in their logic. And the thing about people who think in their logic, we're told our lives right that women are more emotional and whatever. And the thing is, everyone has emotions, and then what happens when you repress your emotions is that there's still emotions that show up. There's still emotions that respond. But what happens is you have an immature or you have a negative response with your emotions or negative reaction or action towards that emotion. So we live in our society, and toxic masculinity will allow people to respond in anger, respond in the most immature, in the most imbalanced ways possible. And that's what happens when you sit within your logic. Because the truth is, emotions will bottle up. Emotions take space in your body. It's why you see there are so many studies and so many experiences to say that people have had cancer, people have had all kind of diseases and all kind of issues because they've stored up emotions and it has literally ruined or triggered their nervous system in a negative way. Having being able to respond to your emotions, being able to show up for other people starts with showing up for your own emotions. One of a video I might make in the future is one of my YouTube idea kind of things is that usually someone who neglects their own emotions will neglect yours. And it's why it's important to kind of show up for yourself, show up for your own emotions, because you will be better off showing up for the people around you. You will be present. You will understand, okay, this is what I do. This is how I comfort someone. This is what happens when someone cries, and this is how I can show up for this person in my life. You are gaining your own sort of intelligence. You're gaining your own sort of power overall and your own experience through healing. Usually people who heal other people, people who heal themselves, you automatically get that wisdom. You have that wisdom thrust upon you. It's why we have to do sometimes, obviously, like it's different when the people around us who've grown older are conservative and they're stuck in their ways. For those who have gained so much knowledge, it's why the shamans, it's why the people in our indigenous societies, they had so much stories, they had so much tales. It's because their wisdom, their experiences, their nuances were what kept the society going together and what kept it moving forward. it is okay to respond emotionally. I think we have this conception that emotions are the opposite of logic. And that doesn't make any sense because emotions and logic are meant to work together. It's why you have in the traditional sciences, with quantitative and qualitative data, one of my favorite podcasts is The Jungian Life. And it was saying how numbers and is just not a part of the hard sciences. I could link the video if I could. Numbers are a part of everyday life, synchronicities. Numbers are a part of symbolism, it's a part of religion, it's a part of belief. Numbers show up everywhere to kind of show us the way to understand ourselves. And the thing is, we associate numbers with logic. And when we have said logic is the opposite of emotions, it makes absolute no sense. But it's because even traditionally, science has said that we usually only associate numbers with science, right? Or numbers with fact. But what about numbers with symbolism? What about numbers with all the things that have to do with emotion, that have to do with intuition, that have to do with creativity, the things that don't necessarily always make sense, and the things that don't necessarily always have to be one plus one, two plus two, the things that are complex and nuanced. And that's the thing about emotions. Emotions aren't simple. Emotions are complex, they're nuanced, and that's the one thing that makes us human. We sit down and we say, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to predict how I'm going to respond. I'm going to predict how I'm going to be. That's not how it is to be a human. For me, I can never say how I would act in any circumstance because I don't know how my emotions would respond. A lot of people will sit down and confidently say, oh, in this person's circumstance, I would have done this. In this person's circumstance, I would have done that. And that's what happens when we sit down and when we listen to these people in these mental health spaces corrupting everything, saying, oh no, you have to respond with logic, blah, 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 blah. And for example, you see stuff with like the Wizard Liz or all these like content creators like who go through real life scandals and have to make real life decisions and go through real life things, and people expect them to respond logically because usually that is the brand they build upon, but that's not realistic. Every human being has to honor their emotions, and every human being has to do what they feel is best for them at that time, and then they can learn. And it doesn't necessarily mean that the outcome will be exactly what you want it to be. It may be the logical outcome that society says, like leave him or leave that situation. But you have to understand that the way that you overcome it, the way that you come out of it, will be different from someone else. Our emotions are just as unique and are just as nuanced as every single one of us, as unique as our genetic pattern. So the way that you are going to respond or learn from a situation or learn from a breakup is different from the way that that person is going to learn. And for me, the piece of allowing people to kind of respond to their emotions the way that they feel best has allowed me to show up for the people in my life better. Not telling them this is how I would have, even I've done that. Remembering myself doing that. This is how I would have done this, how I would have done that is pointless. Why should I say that? It's funny as I say this, I kind of learn on my own. But that is the reality. We sit down, we tell people this is how I should have done, this is how people should have done that. It's not ideal. And it's not respectful towards that person's individual way of expressing their own emotions. I think that downplaying our emotions affects our abilities to choose wisely. This is what I'm saying about wisdom. If we downplay our emotions, we cannot understand the like, full nuance and the full spectrum of our reality. Everyone's life is different. The cards you've been given are different. So if someone sits down and they're in a more privileged situation or they're in a less privileged situation and they sit down and tell you this is how you should respond, this is how you should do this, that makes no sense. However you choose. And the thing is, I watched this podcast with RuPaul, and RuPaul was saying how he was like addicted to drugs for such a long time, and he was disassociating. It's something that people do all the time. They disassociate, and some people think it's not a helpful coping mechanism. But one thing the Crappy Childhood Fairy says is that your coping mechanisms are useful for you in the moment, but when it comes to healing and evolving and becoming the best version of yourself, they become redundant because you actually have to get into the healing process. And he said those 30 years of being on drugs and disassociating were helpful. Throughout my entire life, the life that I lived where I was going through a lot of trauma and going through a lot of CPTSD, because with CPTSD, it's ongoing. Every day you're traumatized. Something goes on, something happens, and that's what occurs and that's what's happening in your reality. And oftentimes it's not something you can change, especially if you're a child, especially if you don't have the tools to kind of grow and change the scenario or change whatever is going on with you. You will understand that you have to use those coping mechanisms. He said he was grateful for all the years that he was doing drugs, grateful for all the years that he done that because he could then disassociate. For me, I'm a refugee. And I remember when I started having to process my emotions, and it was when I was seeking asylum. And when you seek asylum, you have to basically say almost every single. It's very weird that these aren't symmetrical. Sorry, ADHD get distracted. It's very weird that you go through this. You think it's something that's liberating. You know, you have the potential to never have to go back to the home country that you feel unsafe in. You feel that doesn't protect you. And yet you're still so scared. You're still so traumatized. Even when I had gotten the status that I wanted and everything was perfect, and I realized I don't have to go back there if I don't want to. I can live and I can be happy in the society that I'm living in, and I cannot live in prejudice or live in persecution. I still realize I have a lot to process. And that's what uncovered this channel. And I understood that, wow, I've spent so many years disassociating. I've spent so many years doing that, and it was useful at the time. If I spent my entire life processing my and a part of me still carries that on because I was very toxic positive, and I still kind of am. In this channel, I have all the pink, and I have all the colors, and I'm just grateful, and I just want to give a positive vibe, even though I may not be like that all the time, but that's just what I want to give off, and that's just how I am with my friends. I generally like to be a positive person, but it was very useful for me at that time to not process my emotions, to disassociate. And it is something that people may not necessarily agree with. It's not necessarily the logical thing to do, but it's something that it has to inform your reality. It has to inform the life that you're living. It has to be in coalition with it, in partnership with it. So never, ever, ever, ever judge yourself for the coping mechanisms that you had before that were not necessarily healthy, that even people may judge you for. Because in those times, those were useful. Not only were they useful, they kept you going. But now you have to make a choice, and now you have to make a decision to move past that, to move past those coping mechanisms that not only held you back, that are going to keep you stagnant. They can't come with you to the next process. They can't come with you to the next path of your life. So become incessant in not only like honoring your emotions and embracing them, but as soon as you honor them and embrace them and understand them, you cannot get to the point where I'm leaving you behind. I'm leaving you because there's no processing without honoring. That's the problem. You have to process what has happened. You have to process the emotion, and it takes a long ass time. According to Heidi Prieb, attachments, she has a master's degree in attachment. Apparently, it takes 3 years to get over something. So the thing is, you have to start now and start today, or when you can, or when you're ready to process those emotions. And it's going to be very individual for you. And right now, you may be on the substance, you may be on that person, you may be food, and that is what is comforting you now. And that's okay. You may not be ready to find ways and find things that regulate yourself. For me, my main thing, I'm very open on this channel, was sex and men and all that kind of stuff. Now that I'm kind of getting my life together, it's like those things were things that where I was like, oh my God, this is how I regulate myself. I can't imagine not going without this, but like I'm still kind of adjusting to not seeking attention in that way and not interacting with men in that way. But now that when they offer me like very meaningless things, it's like I have so much things in my life that are going for me. And I can make a video about that if you want to, the ways that I'm regulating myself right now. I have my daily stretch routine, I have my nightly showers, which is shower at night. I have my decluttering my room. I have decluttering the kitchen. I have this. I have calling my friends. I have working on my life, working on projects that I'm doing, this channel. And now that I'm slowly building some sort of structure, some sort of life where I don't have to rely on these things and I can regulate myself in the most healthy way possible, those things then become redundant and then I become a healthier version of myself. And I wouldn't judge myself or allow anyone to judge me when I know my story. I know why these things have occurred. For victims of abuse, of sexual abuse, that's what happens. It's natural for it to happen. And then you either become hypersexual or asexual. Maybe that's the word I can use. I don't really quite know the definition of that happens because asexual doesn't have to do with sexual abuse, by the way. I just want to put that by the way. But you become either of those two, and that's okay. And I don't even have this shame anymore. I can be open and I can be about my past and I open like that with partners, and I don't have that shame anymore because I've healed myself. I've taken the power back. That's what you need to do. And don't allow anyone's judgment, don't allow anyone's words, and don't allow anyone's whatever to tell you who you were or who you had to be was either not good enough or shameful. That was what you had to do. And yes, sometimes in my experience, you may have hurt people on the way, but you take accountability for that. Taking accountability is not punishing yourself. No, it's not. You don't have to punish yourself to take accountability for things you've done to other people or things you've done to yourself. Punishing yourself does nothing. Absolutely nothing. Going on a tangent, but you have to let yourself feel, let yourself process, and let yourself evolve. You can't heal what you don't let yourself feel. Let me say it again. You can't heal what you don't let yourself feel. I don't know who said this. I always quote people randomly from interviews, but I was watching the video of Angelina Jolie, and who was it that she was doing an interview with? My ultimate goddess and idol, Cynthia Erivo. You have to go through the storm. Go straight through it. I think it's something that I'm doing and it's letting me process things even much faster. I think I spend my whole life dissociating and avoiding it. But when you finally face it, it could be something that happened to you in primary three. Or I don't know what the American version of it, because I have whatever. That's like before high school. And you're sitting down, you're processing it, and you're like, oh my God, I haven't gone through that. It's just as painful as it was before. Right? Oh my God, my lip gloss. Y'all can see me wiping it. I just never notice when that happens. But you become incessant in allowing yourself to feel. Feel it. Go through it. Let it happen. Go through it. Let it happen. And allow yourself to feel the pain. Pain is one of the most transformative, most powerful things you can ever go through. And it is important for you to feel pain. Imagine if you didn't feel pain. Like, generally, let's even remove emotions. You just have broken wrists walking around. Pain is a warning, it's a signal to your brain that something has gone wrong. It's a signal to your brain that I can't take this anymore. I need to rest. I need to heal. And if you let yourself feel, you let yourself go through the process of healing. Feel it, go through it, and use it and alchemize it to create something good. For me, I did this channel. I have my poetry, which is I put in my community notes as well. I have so much things that allow me to channel my pain in a productive way. Even if you're doing it currently now in an unproductive way, I don't judge you. Whether it's weed, sex, drugs, whatever, this is a free space for you to be as emotionally honest with yourself as possible. But when you're ready to break the cycles, when you're ready to break the toxic patterns, go for it. But heal. Heal in whatever way you find is the most convenient for you. Whether it's therapy, whether it's psychiatric evaluation, whether it's medication. I've done therapy, but I've done medication and it didn't work for me at a certain amount of time. Don't let anyone dictate how you go through healing. No. And the judgment will then become a form of self abandonment. You abandon yourself. Don't let anyone judge you. And don't allow yourself to judge yourself. Everyone gets on their high horse and is like, I would never do this. I would have never let him do that. I would have never I'm this. Why have we made self respect this bat to hit people with? I'm so sorry. That's not what self respect is. Self respect is honoring yourself and honoring your experience. Using it as a weapon and beat people with is not acceptable. And in these mental health spaces, that's all you see. Ugh, ugh. It's exhausting. It's so exhausting. It's such a moral superiority thing. It's such a way to feel like you're better than anyone else. Everyone has a story, everyone has a past, and everyone has a regret. You're allowed to regret things. You're allowed to make mistakes. You're allowed to be a human and respond and be emotional and be vulnerable. Just because you were vulnerable in that last relationship, just because you were vulnerable in that last experience, doesn't make you weak. It actually makes you quite powerful, actually. It actually means that you're doing what a human is supposed to do, and that is connect. Connect with other people. And just because someone broke that trust, and just because someone broke that bond, doesn't make you any less of who you're supposed to be. Heartbreak is supposed to transform you. There is nothing more when you're going through heartbreak. I always see it as a spiritual way of like whoever you believe in setting you up for the next upgrade. That's how I see it, and that's how you need to see it as well. Get excited. If I said this to myself 6 months ago when I was going through the peak of heartbreak, I wouldn't have believed myself, but now I believe it now. Anytime some dude or some friend or some girl or whatever breaks my heart, I'm like, money. More money deposited in my account. Yeah. And that's how you need to see it, because that is what happens. Ask anyone who goes through a breakthrough. That read a lot of people need to start reading anyone you admire, anyone you've ever looked up to. Read their biography or autobiography is the word. Everything I'm saying will be confirmed. It always is the dark night of the soul or the very hard period where they come out of it and they shine. It's like the resurrection, right? I'm such a symbolism person. It's the phoenix. They go through the trenches, they go through the heartbreak, then they come out of it and resurrect. Hope y'all see what I'm saying. Hope y'all get the gist. Hope y'all get the gist. That's what happens. Now that you're going through this or whatever it is you're going through, get excited. It's happening for you. It's happening for you because it's the universe's way or God's way or whoever you look up to's way of expelling what is no longer needed. What is no longer needed and whatever is holding you back. I get so excited. I get so joyous because it means that it's just removing. Oh, I love my hair. It's just removing what is no longer needed. That is what is happening, and that is what you need to embrace. I'm so in this video, but I just miss making longer videos. I do. I miss rambling and talking about, because I make shorter videos, but like I'm just gonna have a balance, short and long. But this is just on my chest because I was so inspired by the RuPaul videos on our Call Her Daddy podcast. And if he watches this one day, I'd be like, oh my God, RuPaul watched my video. Or she watched my video, the host. And it made me have something on my chest because people don't, reading autobiographies, talking to real people in real life who are actually vulnerable and authentic with you will change the way that you see how you respond to your emotions. All these people online are bullcrapping you. They're either emotionally bypassing, right? Or they're lying. They're just as messy as us. One thing about me, I love the fact that I'm open. It's my brand at this point to be messy because it's it's a fantastic part of human being. I'm not saying remain messy and be problematic. No, I'm saying rise above it, as Glinda said in Wicked. Rise above it. I don't think I can hit that note. My throat is so raspy, and I could never if I wanted to try. I'm not a soprano, very clearly how deep my voice is. But yeah, you gotta rise above it, right? I'm gonna end it here because I don't want it to be too long where I ramble. Your emotional choices deserve respect. You made them for a reason. You may not understand the reason why, but honestly, there are mistakes I've made that I'm not even gonna share now where it's like, if I hadn't made that mistake, I wouldn't have been able to think, this isn't acceptable. This isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. I would not have had that full circle moment. I needed that experience to be like, oh yeah, he's a piece of shit. Oh yeah, don't go back to him. Oh yeah, like sometimes you need a then one last time to be like, whatever it is in him, I'm done. So sometimes you need to keep on going back to him. Sometimes you need to keep on going once because it's human to long for someone you were connected to. They may have hurt you, they may have put you down, but like you shared so much of your life with that person. Sometimes you share your body, sometimes you share your dreams, your desires. It's normal to miss them and long for that person, but then or you do whatever and you're like, you ain't shit. You ain't fucking shit. You're not shit. And then you open your eyes. Truly hate to add a bit of comment. I hate to add a lot about hate to add a little bit of comedy to it, but it's true. It's so true. It's so, so true. Let yourself respond emotionally. Overall, I hope in this video I've shown you that it's okay to respond emotionally. And not only respond emotionally, but honor your choices, honor overall everything that you've had to go through to become the person that you are. And it's okay to respond emotionally. I think that's the best thing I can say. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for watching. It's Asha Lovely Day telling you to have a lovely day. Make sure to subscribe to my Patreon if you're interested. And make sure to subscribe, like, comment pink hearts. And I love you so much. Thank you.
The Medicine Woman.